Hello, Genevieve Richardson.
How are you today, sir? And tell us about Stroke TV Media.
Stroke TV media is a passion of mine. Helping stroke survivors kind of like you, what you do it from a passion and a love in your heart. I love stroke survivors. I love helping them. Stroke TV media, I'm building currently, trying to build it into a global network of helping stroke survivors find hope after stroke.
Love that. So important. Tell us some of the ways you're doing that, Aaron.
Well, I've got provide two. I'm building, so we're
Mhm.
under construction. Not only personally after stroke and the brain aneurysm and the speech deficit, but also building stroke TV media. But I'm right now my two primary reasons I'm trying to develop is my podcast. I'm now hosting one every Friday at 2 p.m. on Stroke TV Media YouTube channel called Stroke the Journey Within Podcast. And then I'm not sure, but I'm going to start. I've already decided to restart my business podcast called Stroke of Genius Podcast Executive Experience. And that really is maintained towards a business arena. But I have this podcast, and now I do a lot. Now I'm developing videos and doing a lot of production work, and really just just really enjoying it.
I love that. So let's go back in history for the folks that don't know our history. You and I met more than 2 years ago. And you were a huge influence on me, Aaron. You brought me on your show. And for me, you were on my podcast episode 33.
Yeah.
I actually didn't need to look it up. I remembered your number 33 because that
Yeah.
was the first day I did video.
Wow.
And from there, I started the live shows, did that for almost a year. And we are now up to 143 today,
Wow.
143 episodes. So, yeah. Yeah, you're going to land somewhere around 149, 150. I haven't
Well,
looked at.
Genevieve, I want to say you are so impressed me. I know. I told you in the green room, you're like a rose that blossoms and gets bigger and bigger and more beautiful. And what you're doing out there for the stroke community, I'm extremely impressed with your level of professionalism. I learn from it. I don't tell you, but I watch her, and I go, man, that's good. She's gotten good. You've really come a long way. It's amazing.
It has been quite a ride. Anybody who puts a podcast out, anybody who does videos on social media, that's a steep learning curve, isn't it, Aaron?
It really is. It's not as easy as we make it look, but it's the way it
It's
is.
worth it. It's why we're here. But you and I are on similar missions, maybe coming at it from different angles, but that's why we're here today to talk about mindset and recovery.
Right. Yeah, you and I both kind of discussed how, and Genevieve, for me, mindset is everything. It is a cornerstone for recovery. I call it rebuilding because I think rebuilding our life after stroke is more accurate than recovery.
I think that's a good
But
distinction. I'm writing it down.
okay, yeah, because recovery is more like you cut yourself or you break a bone, and then recovery is you're not doing anything. Well, when you rebuild something, you have to start from scratch. You have to pound nails and do something physically. And when you rebuild your life after stroke, that's a mindset that's so critical. In fact, I've had conversations with doctors and clinicians and talked about because I personally like them to stop using the word recovery because I think it gives a false impression to survivor that you can sit on the couch, eat potato chips, watch the TV, and you recover. Well, that's not true. That's misleading. And you have to rebuild. I've been building stroke TV media now for about seven years or so, and I I have not focused on my rebuilding much as I should. But if you don't have the right mindset, the right foundation for the house you're rebuilding, it's going to have problems. It's going to stress crack. It's going to be slow. It's going to be hard, laborious. But that's why I believe mindset should be taught in hospitals before anything else. I think clinicians need to tell stroke survivors this is going to be a long road. And you're going to rebuild your life to stroke, not just recover. And the mindset is just knowing that. But what do you believe? Henry Ford, Genevieve, said it the best. Would you believe you can or you can't? Both are correct.
Hmm.
And that's where mindset comes in. The survivor needs to realize they can. It's not going to be easy. Nobody is saying it's easy, but it can be done. Here, I've been in a wheelchair for going on 15 years now, and I've had the speech deficit. But I used to be. I used to be mute. But it can be done. You can rebuild. You can do it. You can look at you, look at me. We're making the impact. You don't have to be a stroke survivor to make the impact. I know you, Genevieve. You serve from the heart. You serve because you care. And that's really all we can do is serve, be servant leaders. Really, I truly believe in servant leadership.
Yeah. Aaron, talk to us a little bit more about your mindset. How did you go? Because I know your backstory, and we can go into as much or as little as you want. But I know you had a turning point 2 or 3 years into your recovery. You were going down one path and you had a shift. And I really want to talk about that shift because it's important. It's something I see. I look for patterns. Yeah, I work on speech therapy, but everything I've done these last 4 years in my practice, it is about mindset. It's about grieving and coping and identity, not only for you, but for your significant other, your children, all of that. And it's finding a purpose.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there, but
I know we don't have to
I'll
cover it all.
I'll try to make 15 years and get this to 5 minutes. But for me, I got tired of being in the beginning. I was depressed, suicidal. I was hopeless, and it came down. There was a person that I've had several people influence me, and really, their biggest thing, I'm going to say Jeff Hazlett probably played one of the most, there's two people, Jeff Hazlett, which is a global business leader on the internet. He was a CMO for Eastman Kodak back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
There was him, Jeffrey Hazlett, and Roland Takoka, and both really set the, again, mindset. How do we realize that the depression, the sadness, the thinking, I can't do this, that was on my mind. Remember what we just said. Henry Ford said, what do you think you can, or what do you think you can't? Both are correct. So I'm telling everybody out there done this, whether you're a stroke survivor or not, you can do this. You can do it. And you set that foundation of an I can attitude.
So, how do you keep that going, Aaron, on a day that just kicks you in the teeth?
I do have those days where I just think out. I have those days where they are very painful, very emotionally painful, and also physically painful. But I think service, doing what we do, takes away our eye. That there's a saying, and I don't remember where it came from, but boy, your energy will flow where your focus goes. And so
Mhm.
I get focused on my misery, focus on what I can't do. I can't do this, I can't do that. Because there was a type of guy that could pretty much do anything. So I didn't focus on what I can't do. I had Roland Talgoka and Jeff Hayes said, focus on what you can do. So how do I keep my attitude right? Well, let's make for transparency. I'm not always like perfect. I had those days too that kicked my butt.
No way.
Yeah. So where I get depressed feeling so sorry for myself. But all I can say is really flood your mind with positive affirmations, flood your mind with positive influences. When you get that thought that goes to your mind and it's negative about your own self, because I believe that us as strokes of our gender, we really are our worst enemies because we sit there. I spent the last 15 years. The reason I named my podcast Stroke, The Journey of Within, because for me, I spent the last 15 years since I'm on head. You cannot,
Oh, it's the work. And you don't have to have a stroke to fall prey to those thoughts inside
right,
your head.
right,
'Cause
right,
there's always those negative ones that want to pull you down that say, "Who are you to
right. What
to
gives you
try
that?
to try?" Yeah.
How could
Just
you, yeah.
go sit on the couch and be quiet.
Yeah. Really comes down to that's a thought. There's a lot of people out there in the stroke community, I know personally, that believe that they think something in their mind. It's true. Well, that's not true. That alone is a lie. So sometimes a negative thought goes in there, you're worthless, you can't do this, or it gives you the right to teach people, whatever. And those type of thoughts, you've heard that saying, those thoughts are things you resist persist. Well, don't don't push against it. Don't no negative thoughts come in your head. What I've learned over this time is don't push against it because if you resist it with force,
Ah,
it will persist. It will keep coming back and won't stop. But if you replace it,
you
that's the key.
replace it.
That ties into mindset. If you replace it with something like Aaron, you're just a burden to your family. No, I can replace it and say, Aaron, you're a blessing to your family.
Mhm.
You are a blessing, you're strong, you replace it and it changes everything.
It does. Do you find that when you first started to replace those negative thoughts, I'll bet it was hard to do, but you had to
Oh,
persist with it. Can you talk a little more about that? Because some people are going to listen to this episode and they go, well, look at Aaron. He's
yeah,
15 years out, right? Of course he can do it. I'm
yeah,
just a year
yeah.
out. How am I? What could you say? How
What,
would you
first of
encourage
all,
that?
what a great question because it's something I'm very spiritual, man. It's something I've been praying about because I, over the years, I made my podcast. I accidentally forgot to tell you the pain I was going through. I forgot to tell you the struggles I was struggling with. Because there's one with every positive thing about me. There's been a pain or struggle on the other side.
Mhm.
And what I've done, I forgot, like you just said, I forgot to tell about the pain and the struggle that brought about the mind shift. So, it's not easy. I think, first of all, let's make perfectly clear. It's not easy to shift our minds, whether you're a stroke survivor or not a stroke survivor.
Sure.
But especially a stroke survivor, because we get so many negative thoughts running through our mind. And, we struggle, we toil, we're in pain, so for me, it was also realizing that I can actually control what I think. And a
Mm.
lot of people out there believe they are like prisoners of their own mind. That's not
Mhm.
true. You can actually control what you think, but it's taken years, and I don't want anybody out there to think. I look at Aaron; he's got a lot down. No, Aaron was a train wreck in the beginning of the year. An absolute train wreck.
So, could we unpack or come up
Yeah,
with some
yeah.
real concrete ways if someone is willing, right? If they're willing to replace those negative thoughts, what do you think is one way they could start to practice to do that? Because, like you said, you had to, that's a new muscle. That was a new muscle for you that you had to develop.
Well, something I like to say that I've been going through recently, and again, I'm a spiritual man, so it comes to about spiritually. Live for today. Don't live for tomorrow. Don't live for tomorrow's worries. Don't live in your past mistakes. Live
Mm.
right here, right now. And that will alleviate a tremendous amount of stress and a tremendous amount of bad thinking. But what's the question again? I forgot the question.
Concrete ways we we can give ideas how you can replace those negative thoughts with something more positive.
Okay, I would first of all have to say, do not believe. You have to set them. Do not believe that you have to believe everything you think.
Mm.
They're just minds. So you got to remember they're flexible. You want to call it neuroplasticity, neuroplasticity. It probably ties into it somehow. But I started listening to positive motivational videos. Music is listen to music that you like that makes you feel positive. And again, don't resist it. Otherwise, it'll persist. So you try to say no. Don't just sorry. I'm not going to think like that. You're going to think like that. But if you just replace it, just replace what you're saying. It
Yeah,
makes all the difference. And like I said, read books that are positive, like that some books I recommend. If you want to talk to me, I'm always available. It's Aaron Avila.stroketv at gmail.com. And you can email me and I'll book and talk. I'll talk to you and try to help you if I can.
I
But
love
I
that.
would say just flood your mind. Remember what I said earlier, Genevieve, where your focus goes, your energy will flow. Or your energy will flow, your focus goes. So one of the biggest things is don't focus on the negative. I always pictured stroke like driving a car. You're driving behind the wheel, but you got this little tiny review mirror looking
Mhm.
backwards of your life. Now, if you start to drive the car, always looking backwards, you're going to crash. But if you got this huge front windshield of your life, which is really what's there, Stroke lighting and see, oh, I got the review. No, stop focusing on them. Don't look back. Don't look at the rearview mirror. Just look at the fun with your life. Look for opportunity. Take a minute. I got to come down. But to take a minute to listen to the bird sing. As I go outside and I'll listen to a bird tweet. And it's music to me. I love it. Or we get orange trees here in California where I live. And the blossoms this time of year is amazing. I mean, it's like it fills the house, it fills the air in Sonoma County. It's amazing. So I'm just saying pause and just relax and enjoy life.
Love that. Front windshield of life. I think we're gonna quote that for you, Aaron.
It really fun that really changed me, Genevieve, was when I stopped looking backwards. I stopped looking at all the things I lost in my stroke and my brain aneurysm. I mean, I haven't walked for 15 years. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm half paralyzed. I got speech deficit. But you know what? I'm alive. I'm here with you right now, Genevieve.
Absolutely. And you are making a difference in other people's lives. You are touching people and giving them hope. Before we started recording today, that's what we talked about, hope.
Hope.
But it's not wishing, is it?
No, wishing is different now.
That's right. Can you unpack that for us?
I will.
I think that's a really important point stroke survivors need to understand.
Well, I think wishing is almost like, I wish I didn't have stroke. You're not being real. You're not being real with yourself. In order for you to change yourself, you need to be real with yourself. You need to look at where you are. And that may be good or bad, but you have to start somewhere. So I would say, look at yourself. I had a stroke. I can either curl up in the ball, wait to die, which is what I would say majority of stroke survivors do. They just hanging out, wait to die. You know, I don't believe in that. I think real power. I think in most stroke survivors, our real power is service. The when you use your pain as your purpose. It changes the game completely. And I'm willing to teach. I'm willing to help anybody that wants to get on screen, on camera, get a camera to mic, and express themselves as a stroke survivor. I'm willing to teach it again. I think when you get your eyes off yourself and start helping other people, your life will change.
It's an interesting point, Aaron, because I look at the stroke survivors that I've worked with over the years. And the ones that get there quicker, get there meaning rebuilding, right? Not looking in that review mirror, is where they find a purpose. And it doesn't have to be a big purpose. It doesn't have to be doing like what you're doing on a camera on the internet. It can be talking at the public library. It could be sitting with kids at a daycare facility and rolling the ball back and forth.
Right.
It's what's the thing that's going to get you off the couch and doing.
Yeah. You picked it on the money. I mean, really, purpose is everything. I would say the majority of stroke survivors out there do not have a purpose. They live in their lives day to day without a purpose. One thing we had before a stroke was purpose. I worked as self-employed and I brought money into the family. What happens if you take all the way? You'd have nothing left, no purpose. Guess what? You flounder in despair. But if you can find a purpose, And again, I believe the purpose helping. I believe that every human being on planet Earth should be doing something for somebody. And that purpose for us stroke survivors is helping each other, raising awareness, whether it be aphasia, whether it be stroke, whatever. Again, Genevieve, I'm always here if somebody wants help finding purpose, they just email me and I'll do what I can to help them.
Absolutely, as would I.
Yeah.
And that's what I really want the message to be there, that if any stroke survivor, any care partner, spouse, adult child of a stroke survivor, if you need help, if you need resources, you need someone to talk to, you reach out to me, you reach out to Aaron. We have other resources to help. There's no reason to have to do this by yourself or remake
right.
the wheel.
There's no reason I'll flounder because you got people. I remember when I met you, Jennifer. You struck me as a person that worked from the heart. You want to help. You want to serve. You want to get part of yourself to help people. And hats off to you for that. But I think that mind shift, for a lot of people, it's a mind shift because the world says, me, 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 me. You deserve a break today. Well, no, you deserve to get your butt off the couch and go help somebody. That's what you deserve. It will change your life completely. I don't care if it's just mentioning aphasia or stroke or educating a family member, whatever. You got it. It's there.
Something that you said just made me think of, maybe the stroke survivor is not willing to do it for themselves. If they take themselves out of the equation, but think, I've got to get up to go outside and wave hi to the kids, the neighbor kids that are coming home from the bus, maybe something as small as that, and they don't, they're not doing it for themselves, but it gives them a reason to get up. And then if they do it on a Monday, then hopefully they do it on a Tuesday, and they can build on that. Because if they can think about that felt good, there's something to build on there.
That is, you just said something after 15 years, you think I would have learned that one. But I realized, because everybody tells you, oh, you got to recover for you. Well, that's kind of like me sitting in the same place all the time. I am fully recovered. But then all of a sudden I started to get back on my wife and go, she's waited here 15 years for me to recover or rebuild enough to do something, to be substantial in life. You know what? I'm going to do it for her. And I just recently came to this. It's funny you mentioned that. I just recently came to that awareness. It's nothing wrong with doing things for other people. Even rebuilding your life after a stroke, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's right. Well, you have to dig deep and find what that is. And if you don't know and you're looking, speaking to you would be an excellent first start.
Or
getting
you.
on an online group. Absolutely. There's online communication groups. There's online stroke groups. There's YouTube videos. There's a million ways to reach a stroke survivor that have put themselves out there on YouTube. There's links. If you don't know how to find the links, ask somebody to help you.
Oh, yeah. You asked me earlier. I do have a Stroke TV Media YouTube channel. No, it's really a place. I asked myself recently. I had a non-stroke business person said, "What is it you really do?" I help people find hope. I help stroke survivors find hope after stroke. That's really what I do. That's really what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're not just wishing.
No. Oh, yeah.
No. There's a lot of work that goes behind it for everybody.
Yeah, we're talking about that. And I guess I don't know a mess up, but the difference between wishing and was it wishing what?
And doing, wishing, and hope.
Wishing. Yeah, we could sit there, eat potato chips, and watch TV. Go, wish I got better. I know many stroke survivors out there that do the same thing, eat bit by the not be eating potato chips. I don't know. But they watch TV all day long, sleep, and wish to get better. That's not happening. You've got to put action to it. You got to do it. You got to get up, go outside, whatever. I want to touch on that.
Aaron, I've seen your videos where you go walking around your pool. You are out there doing and pushing, and that's part of it too. Neuroplasticity. What do we know about it? We know that the brain can heal itself, but doing passive actions like watching TV is not going to do it. You have to push yourself. And when you push yourself and it's a challenge, that's when you start growing those extra neurons, those extra fibers in your brain, help reconnect. You're not going to bring back the damage, but you can build around that damaged area.
That's really good. There is hope. His brain does. You know, Genevieve, out of all the therapists, they didn't mention, teach me how to use. I don't know any stroke survivor. If you use stroke survivor, have I taught about neuroplasticity in the hospital to recover? I would love to see the comments because for me, they never taught it. But I had a neuroplastician from Denver, Colorado, tell me, Shimmy crickets, repetitive. I know the word, bro. I'm doing stroke brain thing. Repetition is language of the brain.
Repetition is language of the brain.
Yeah, it's really what the brain understands. It understands repetition. So you out there, and I'm going to be doing a series coming up where I'm going to shift my focus and really work on building my life. Get my arm to move, my hand. I've got a mirror box right here. I got a mirror box right here. I bought one. I had the mirror box right here. And I really want to be able to fish again. I want to be able to fish again. And I need to, in order for me to fish, I got to get my left hand working so I can reel the reel. But we got to put that effort in and put that repetitive effort in, and the more emotional, you can check me in this, the more emotional that you feel when you do the repetition, the more likely it is it'll spur neuroplasticity. The more emotions you have.
Absolutely. Interesting. I hadn't heard that, but that makes sense. Well, if we think back to childhood, how do we learn to do anything?
Yeah, right.
Walking, talking, math, ride a bike, ride a horse, repetition, repetition, repetition.
And that is, plasticity at its rawest form as more children.
Yep, for sure. And not only repetition, not for the point of getting those reps done, Aaron, I think you'd agree with this, being very conscious about what you're doing and why you're doing it and what you are working towards.
Boom, spoken like a clinician, right on the money. Right on the money.
If I could just do it in the gym, then I get myself an A+.
Yeah.
But so I love this conversation, Aaron. I think it's different than the ones we've had before because we're really getting to the heart of stroke rebuilding. And I'm gonna switch my own language from recovery to rebuilding because there's so many people that don't believe in recovery. But if you think of it like rebuilding, then it's one brick at a time.
One brick at a time.
And that's how you keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So good, Aaron. All right, folks, this was another amazing conversation with Aaron. Let's not wait so long to do this again.
I agree, Jennifer. Keep you on what you're doing. I love you, honey.
I love you, Aaron, and I'm just inspired by you and everything you're doing. And folks, we will put all of his contact information, links to Stroke TV Media, to his Gmail account, and all of that good stuff. And wherever you are in the US, international, if you're hearing this and you need support, reach out, because you don't need to do this alone. Awesome.
All right. Bye, Genevieve.
Bye, Aaron.